No man should ever enter where we are going. Beware what lurks in the depths of the libtard zone.
First of all, the president has no power to nationalize elections. The Constitution says that the time, place, and manner of elections are to be reserved to the states, and that's in Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution. Congress can alter that, but you need a congressional law to do so, and Democrats are going to fight like hell to make sure that that does not happen.
You'll no longer sell handguns that can be converted into semi-automatic machines able to fire 1,200 rounds a minute. Not here, not in New York.
What are you, fucking stupid? Huh?
I represent Minneapolis, which is currently under occupation. We do not exaggerate when we say we have schools where 2/3 of the students are afraid to go to school. We do not exaggerate when we say we have people who are afraid to go to the hospital because our hospitals have occupying paramilitary forces. We do not exaggerate when we say our restaurants are shutting down because there are not enough people to drive the employees to work and from work. We do not exaggerate when I say we have people who are housing other people because they are afraid to go home. And that is all happening in an American city. We have two neighbors, two of my constituents, who were shot by federal agents as cameras recorded. And their president maligned their name and told us not to believe our eyes. When we say it is time for Kristi Noem to go, we mean it now.
Let's go. Let's go.
When we say there needs to be accountability for the architect of the terror we are facing in Minneapolis and so many other cities, which is Stephen Miller, we mean we need accountability for him now.
Let's go.
So thank you all for being here. Thank you for joining the call to get ICE out of our cities, for us to dismantle this department that is not just rogue, but unlawful. And yes, obviously, if Kristi Noem does not resign and the president doesn't fire her, Democrats are ready and willing to impeach her.
They know that they can't go after all of us. They know that they can't go after everyone with a cell phone. They know that they can't go after every single journalist who's trying to cover these stories. And so what they want to do is that they want to make an example out of one person that's highly visible or has a position of leadership like you or like Georgia Fort, in order to get people who are trying to do similar things to self-censor, to self-silence, to be afraid that, well, if it happened to him, then it could happen to me, so I'm not going to do it. Because they know that we outnumber them and they know that they can't go after all of us. So I think I just want to say how important it is, the example that you're setting by not backing down, that, you know, you got out and the first thing you did was to start the show right back up again, because what they want you to do is that they want you to take a step back. They want you to be intimidated.
The funniest part about that is these people seriously believe everything you just heard. Like I said, ever since I had the technological problems, I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the show off with a little libtard mania or with my AI intro, just so I can gauge the make sure everything's working. And I'm like, they're making it too easy. Oh, wait a second. While my show is being preempted, looks like we're going to cut to the White House right now with Melania, who's meeting with a freed American hostage.
In January 2025, It was an emotional meeting, and it is captured on camera and available to see in my new film, Melania. It was very emotional. Aviva presented me with 2 of kids' books, and when I came home that evening, I gave it to my husband and informed him the situation, and I know he was fighting for all of the hostages, and as we know now, all of the hostages are free and home with the families. Aviva was a warrior. She is a warrior. She was fighting very hard for Keith, and I know he suffered a lot. I'm happy to see you healthy at home with your children, with your grandchildren, with your family, and I know you're giving back your time, your energy to other people, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Would you like to say a few words?
Yes. I want to start by saying thank you to the First Lady, Melania Trump, and to President Trump. I want to thank you for being a caring, compassionate person and for supporting and helping Aviva. During those difficult days, and you helped her enormously in many ways. It's an honor, it's a privilege, and I'm eternally grateful, and I am very grateful to have the opportunity to say that to you in person, sitting next to you. I am eternally grateful to you and President Trump for bringing me home and for bringing all of the hostages back to their families. And I just want to mention the extraordinary mobilization in the fight for Aviva and all of the hostages' freedom, and how it moved me deeply. And it showed us the true meaning of holding on to hope, even in the most difficult moments. Now that I have regained my freedom, and I celebrated 1 year of freedom, being released from captivity this Sunday, I have committed myself to partnering with ISRAID, an Israeli humanitarian aid organization, to help restore hope for others. Giving back is a crucial part of my recovery and rehabilitation process. Aviva and I just came on Sunday, from one of the world's largest refugee camps in Kenya, called Kakuma. In Kakuma, ISRAID is providing access to clean water, hygiene, sanitation, and education to thousands of refugees that otherwise would not have any of those. The work of ISRAID has inspired me and given me a new sense of purpose. What a remarkable and amazing accomplishment, bringing all of the hostages back home. And we have a mission ahead of us to help others that are struggling. And this is our new mission in life. This is the road we are on. This is our journey. And I also want to end by congratulating you on the release of your movie. So much looking forward to seeing it, and so grateful for you deciding to have Aviva be a part of your movie. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. Would you like to say a few words?
I just want to say that I waited for the last hostage to come home to thank you. Because when we met, before Keith came home, you gave me so much hope, and I could feel your heart with me. And I knew how important it was for you to go back home and talk to President Trump and share your feelings. So I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank you for putting me in your special Melania film, because I was there talking to you, not for myself, but for the whole world. Bringing the hostages home was the most important thing that I could think about in this world, and now it's all over the world. The bad things that Hamas did to my husband, but I'm lucky. And thank you, Keith, for staying alive and being with me. And thank you, Melania, for helping. I really appreciate it. I want to just tell you that I decided to write a book, and it's dedicated to my grandchildren that can't hear the stories, because they are very, very hard stories to hear. And in the book, I wrote thank you to Melania, because you helped to bring Keith home, and you helped to bring the hostages home. So I'm thanking you. And in my book, everybody that will read it will understand what happens to somebody that's 64 years old, kidnapped from a home, and went through so many moments that I thought and was sure that I'm going to die. And I'm alive. And I survived to tell. So thank you very, very much. I'll always remember the meeting with you, and I'll always remember your help. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
And good luck with the film.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Keith.
And we're going to make this world a better world together.
In peace. Sorry?
What did you say to the president after your meeting with Mrs. Siegel?
I gave him the two books that Aviva gave me, and I explained the situation where she thought that Keith was, how he was doing. She didn't have much information, but she knew how much he was suffering because she was with him for 50 days. And I explained to him everything, and I know how hard he was working to release all of the hostages.
Has President Putin agreed to release any more Ukrainian children? Has President Putin agreed to release any more Ukrainian children?
I'm working on it. I'm working on it, and we are in the process, so I hope we have success very soon. I will keep you posted.
Why do you feel it is appropriate to use an official White House event to promote your documentary?
This is not promotion. We are here celebrating the release of the hostages of Aviva and Keith. They were in Washington, D.C. They called me. They said they would like to come over to thank me and to give hugs, and that's why we are here. It has nothing to do with promotion.
What scumbags?
We are in context.
You are contacted.
We are in context. My representative is in context.
There was a call from an LC survivor to have Ghislaine Maxwell move to a high security.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
We are here celebrating the release and the life of those two incredible people, so let's honor that.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. We're friendly. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, guys.
What absolute scumbags. By the way, you can celebrate that some of those scumbags will no longer be in the Oval Office or asking questions. Some of those scumbags, in fact, 33% of the Washington Post staff went poof. They fired them, laid off 33% of their staff. The rest of these people who still have jobs, they better get it soon. They better understand real soon America doesn't want the BS that they are peddling. It's amazing, absolutely amazing that they would look at this man and woman sitting there after knowing what they went through, after knowing the lives that were taken, the lives that were broken, killed, the families that were destroyed. And the question you want to ask is, you think it's appropriate to be having this meeting in the White House promoting your movie? She's got more class than I do. Obviously, she's got more class than President Trump, because I would have told him to F off. Look at these two people here. Wow. You know what's funny? When that came on, and you guys know sometimes I have to take things as they happen and get preempted. It was perfect. It was perfect timing. It followed the libtard zone with a bunch of quacks spouting off at the mouth, going completely nuts, and we contrasted that with nothing but class. And it's a perfect example. I was going to get into that anyway, but it's a perfect segue into what I've been telling you. Just look at who the people are. Do they look like they're in charge? Do they look like they're winning? You just saw what winning looked like. She's not the president. She's the first lady. And she was calm. She took that question like a pro, threw it back at him, shot those dagger eyes at him. It's not the place. They're not winning. I wish people would understand it. They're not winning. I'll get into that tonight. Let me just tell you, there is so much content. I mean, when my thumbnail that I put up today, let me just put it up in case you guys didn't. Well, of course you saw it, but just for emphasis, let me just put it up. When I put this up, I did not know that Melania was going to come out and add to it, because all morning long, the Trump administration has been kicking butt and taking names. And I've got so much to show you. But first, let me get to, she broke my stride. I hadn't even done my intro. Let's go with the intro and then into the show.
One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Welcome, everybody, to the show. Now we can start the show, that we're not being preempted. Listen, before I begin the show, let me talk to you about one of our sponsors today. Early onset dementia and Alzheimer's are on the rise. And believe me, those are two different things. Reports have been showing a 373% increase in diagnoses among 30 to 44-year-old people, and a 311% increase in people 45 to 54. That's here in the U.S. When doctors treat brain diseases, they often focus on medicating the brain itself instead of addressing the symptoms, instead of finding and treating the root cause, which is chronic inflammation and oxidative stress. These factors damage brain cells and lead to the buildup of toxic proteins, the hallmark of Alzheimer's. But like much of the body, many brain tissues trace back to the gut microbiome. There's a direct communication line between your gut and your brain. The gut-brain axis, where gut bacteria influences inflammation, your mood, your memory, and cognitive function. If you've ever been, kind of constipated, or the reverse, if your guts are like, flowing wide open, what you eat matters so much. Kimchi, right here, they've done an actual study to show this, that kimchi contains over 900 probiotic strains, and studies show its bioactive compounds help reduce inflammation, protect brain cells, and even improve memory and cognitive function by preventing something called an amyloid beta plaque buildup. That's why Brightcore created Kimchi One. It delivers all the benefits of real kimchi, and I do mean all the benefits. If you guys have been taking it, you know what some of those benefits are, but it comes in one convenient capsule. No taste, no smell, virtually no sodium. It's made in the US, and it's non-GMO. Today, if you order some kimchi, it's good stuff. You can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link in the description for 25% off your entire order. Or for an even better deal, you can call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off your order and free shipping. Give them a call now at 888-418-6738. Never envisioned I'd be starting this show 22 minutes into the actual broadcast. But nonetheless, here we are. Glad you guys are here. Everything seems to be working thus far. I told you there is so much news happening. And what I was saying with the thumbnail is it just seems like he sicked the dogs on everybody. He went, Marco and Vance went out and did speeches. Scott Bessent is out there. Tom Homan ripped up some butt this morning. I'm going to show you what Caroline Leavitt said yesterday. She did an impromptu presser, basically, and nobody knew about it. She had a little segment on Fox, but she did a segment at the Sticks. The Sticks is that alley where all the tents are, where she went out and met the press in, whatever cold degree weather it was out in Washington. And she basically set the prelude for what was going to be happening today. Now, one of the things that happened today, I'm going to show you a little bit of it now. See, I hate showing hearings, because when I show hearings, what ends up happening, it's a 5-minute dog and pony show back and forth. But I caught a couple segments of this hearing that you can't miss. So I said, you know what? I'm going to have to get this out there to show people. Scott Bessent but he had a hearing today in front of the Congressional Financial Oversight Committee. And as you would imagine, went back and forth, until there were two people that I found thus far. I'm sure I'll find more tonight, but Mad Maxine, she got into something with him, and then Gregory Meeks went off the rails. So before we get too deep in the show, I do want to show you this. Check this out.
I now recognize the ranking member of the committee, Mrs. Waters of California, for a 4-minute opening statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Last week, Donald Trump marked his first year in office with consumer confidence plummeting to a 12-year low. That is not a coincidence.
All right, so before she gets to the questioning of Scott Bessent, she reads her opening statement. And you can tell somebody else wrote this, because Mad Max could never even put this together. I mean, she could barely get through it as it is. And it always amazes me that these people have to read verbatim to get something into the record, and they can't even tell you how they really feel, because when they tell you how they really feel, they turn into batshit crazy demonic Satanists. But she reads this, and as she's reading it, because she's reading it into the record, it becomes a part of the formal record. So anybody years from now can go back and look. And you get 4 or 5 minutes to just sit there and spew lies. And nobody can really stop you. You can't be interfered with. You can't say, I object. You can just go, yeah, President Trump raped 6 kids and blah, blah. You can say whatever you want in these 4 minutes. So she does this before she starts her questioning.
Trump promised a so-called golden age, but apparently he only meant one for his family and billionaire friends. Instead of helping families, Trump's trade wars are driving up the price of goods like groceries, clothing, and furniture. Small businesses and farmers feel it too. And we all know exactly who is to blame. Instead of
she sounds like friggin' Dr. Seuss. My hair still, you got a new wig. So you can't be doing that bad, right, man? I get the new wig. The other one wasn't looking well. The Lhasa Apso wanted its hair back. And so you got a new wig. So, things can't be that bad, can they?
Costs, Donald Trump has doubled down on chaos and cruelty while handing more power and more freedom to Wall Street. For example, instead of directing the Financial Stability Oversight Council to address threats to our economy, Mr. Secretary, it appears they're using it to do the exact opposite and deregulate Wall Street. While Trump claims he wants to cap credit card interest rates, his administration has repealed rules that curbed excessive credit card late fees and shuttered the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Now, when she talks about the Consumer Finance Protection scam, understand what that was. That was little Elizabeth Warren's personal piggy bank. She created it. She ran it. She did whatever she wanted to. She held people completely captive. If you didn't pay her off or donate or whatever, then she came after you with fines and sicked the dogs on you. And President Trump destroyed the CFPBF, whatever the hell it was. It's no longer.
The very agency that returned $21 billion to Americans after they were ripped off. In fact, Trump's team has dismissed enforcement actions against predatory firms, even after they admitted to defrauding consumers. Why? Could it be because they gave to Trump's campaign or bought his crypto coins? Or could it be this president?
You realize what she's doing here? She's not saying it. She's hiding behind the language she's using. Could it be this? Could it be that? Could it be this? So whoever wrote this was smart enough not to get her into some sort of libel or slander suit. She's saying, could it be this the reason? She has no idea. She's completely making it up. And whoever wrote this wrote it in such a way as to imply that there's some things that are wrong.
It's not on the side of the American consumer and never has been. It does not stop there. Right now, Trump's Justice Department is conducting a baseless criminal investigation into Jerome Powell to bully the Federal Reserve.
Jerome Powell leaves office one way or the other in May, so he's going to be gone. How can you say something is baseless if you don't have the evidence? See, that's the thing that Democrats always try to say. It's baseless. It doesn't mean anything. Grand juries, nah, they don't mean anything. Subpoenas, nope, don't mean anything. The whole idea is, again, I will state, is for you not to have any memory. Your memory has had to stop working. Otherwise, you would know that's exactly what they did. Pete Navarro, Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, Donald Trump. Everybody in that room knows exactly what happened just a few years ago. But the idiots who are watching on television, I guess they have a very light memory.
They serve Trump's agenda instead of the American people. Since Trump returned to office, Republicans have looked the other way while consumer protections were gutted. Instead of offering solutions to help families, they have protected corporate profits. Under this administration, billionaires are winning and hardworking Americans are losing. We've seen this movie before. The same blind loyalty and deregulation led directly to the 2008 financial crisis when millions of Americans lost their jobs, their homes, and their savings, all while Wall Street walked away with bonuses.
Who was president in 2008? the banking crisis that you helped facilitate because you said that everyone who can fog a mirror should be able to get a house. Thank you, Maxine. I will thank you for that, because those, people like me who work in the real estate business made a boatload of cash because there were foreclosures more than it was like a waterfall. We couldn't stop all the foreclosures. We couldn't buy all the foreclosures from the bank. They made movies about it. The Big Short. What in the hell are you talking about? The mirror foggers that you gave loans to, that's what collapsed the market. The mirror foggers that you said deserved to have a home, like you're saying now, oh, boomers took all the money. Boomers did this. That foreclosure debacle, or should I say that foreclosure treasure hunt that you created, who do you think it benefited? And then you guys bailed out the banks because the banks were too big to fail, which is probably what you're going to do with this whole silver and gold thing. So spare me all the BS about, people in 2008, they had a hard time.
Despite repeated demands from Democrats for accountability, Republicans have refused to bring other key administration officials before Congress. That includes CFPB Acting Director Rush Vaught, who must be held accountable for dismantling the CFPB. This includes FHA Director and Bill Pulte, who has unlawfully installed himself and his staff on the board of Fannie and Freddie. Weaponized mortgage.
Okay, now understand, she's reading this. How did he illegally? You want to explain that one? Nope, they're just reading it into the record, and nobody can really say anything. You want to talk about a broken government system? That's a broken government system, where you can just spew whatever you want into the record, and it just sits there for all history to review.
Data to try to attack Trump's political enemies, and who is incompetently pushing just plain dumb housing policies like a 50-year mortgage. Every turn, committee, Democrats, and I are.
Now, I personally don't like the idea of the 50-year mortgage, but I'll let other people take it because they'll probably make me, some cash when they get foreclosed on. But nonetheless, did Mad Max just say she doesn't want people to be able to buy a house? I thought one of the big pushes by people on the left was everybody needs to buy a home. Home's too expensive. So you just came out and told all those people that, no, you can't have a 50-year mortgage. Well, how the hell you expect them to get a house? If you don't like Bill Pulte and the things he's doing with the FHA, and you don't like Scott Turner with what he's doing in real estate, how do you expect any of these people who are screaming on the left about they're precluded from buying a house, how are they going to buy a house? Tell us. You seem to have everything else written down there, but no, I'm pretty sure she won't.
Standing up for America's consumers, defending strong safeguards, fighting corporate abuse, and the corruption of the Trump family. It's just common sense. Our economy should work for everyone, not just.
That is a very common, get myself in trouble here. It's a very common statement on the left. The economy should work for everyone. I just wish a politician, including Trump, I understand would probably cost him votes. I wish a politician would just come out and go, that's not how any of this works. The economy doesn't work for people. You work for the economy. You have to be a consumer. You have to be a taxpayer. You have to be a participant, not a bleacher sitter. With too many people on welfare, how in the hell is the economy supposed to work for them? If the numbers that we've seen are true, if that many people are on welfare, then no, the economy is not going to work for them because it's not designed to work for them. They are wards of the country. They are wards of the state. They are there for us to take care of. You can't have it both ways. You can't say suck off the teat of the government and then say make the economy work for them. No, here's your food, here's your bus pass, here's your friggin' whatever you want to do, here's this, here's that. You're not working for the economy, and the economy's not working for you because you're not a participant. I am so sick of that. No. Even the person who picks up the trash on the back of the truck on Wednesday is doing more for the economy than the people sitting home watching old Oprah reruns getting money from us. Somebody has to have the cojones to say, no, it's not designed for takers. Just like the stock market isn't. You can look at the stock market all day and like, wow, up, down, yeah, it's great. But it's not doing it for you unless you're in it. And I'm not telling everybody you need to own stock. I'm saying you have different ways of participating. This entire collectivism bullcrap has to be killed. It has to be stomped out. It needs to be called out at every turn because too many of you work and too many of you have worked for years to have it say, well, it's not fair to everybody. It's not designed that way, honey. This is capitalism. This is for workers. This is for people who produce, not for people who simply take. And I'm not talking about retirees because retirees have already gave. You go knocking on their door, they should just have a sign, gave at the office for the last 20 or 30 years, F off. I don't think there should be any tax on anybody for anything over 66. That way I don't include myself. Over 66. I don't think there should be a tax on any veteran for anything at any time. You've gone ahead and you've made your deposit, whether it's a eye, a leg, a spine, or trauma in the head. Stop trying to make this about this grand old collective, but we got to get everybody on the same page. F them. Sorry about that. Sorry, but I've been holding that in too long.
For Trump, that billionaire circles that he's involved with, Republicans need to stand up to Trump, defend our regulators, protect consumers, and put families ahead of Wall Street. Anything less is...
Families? How does these words ever come out these people's minds? You've spent the last 20 years destroying the family. You've done everything you can to make there be no families. You've taken dad out the house or dad left the house. You've decided you're going to do all kinds of things with the kids that are remaining, including cutting off their junk. You've infiltrated them with satanic music. You made fun of women that want to stay home and take care of their children and be wives. You've made fun of them. And then you have the audacity, the unmitigated gall to sit up there and say, take care of the families, when you've absolutely done your best to destroy them. Do you know there's people who actually made fun of the Trump accounts and that they won't even take what's available to them because it's got Trump's name on? The TDS is so bad, they won't help provide for their children. Children should be taken away from them. $1,000 put into account that will grow over the life of the child, and you're like, I don't want it. I'm not going to register because you think it's hurting Trump. It's destroying your family, morons. There's no help for these people until people start calling them out. So now she's done with her spewing of the remarks. Now you need to get some popcorn. Now it gets really good because now she's going to talk to Scott Bessent.
Complicity.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
I yield back.
I now recognize the ranking member of our committee, Mrs. Waters of California, for 5 minutes for questions.
Thank you very much, Secretary Bessent. In the FSOC annual report, you stressed the importance of economic growth to promote financial stability. While you noted many ways you plan to deregulate Wall Street and plant the seeds for another crisis, you said little about the harms of inflation. I find this odd as the president and you have finally began discussing in the media how the price of goods are way too high. Notably, you mentioned that tariffs may need to come down to lower costs for Americans. So I have a few questions about this. As a former hedge fund manager in 2004, and I don't want you to go into any long details about this, but did you write a letter to investors raising concerns about the impact of tariffs, writing that, quote, tariffs are inflationary? Did you say that at that time, yes or no?
She pulled a letter or a article from 2004, which by my calculations means it's 22 years ago. 22 years ago, they went back and found something that Scott Bessent wrote, as if the economy and all the mechanisms inside of our economy and all the variables have stayed the same for 22 years. When she knows it's not true, because she just mentioned the debacle in the banking system in 2008, which was 4 years after the article she's citing right now. But unless somebody stops and says, wait, do you hear what she just said? It just goes in a flow. And so I want you to understand, she cited a 22-year-old article, which was written 4 years from the very same banking debacle that she just talked about 4 minutes ago.
No. Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a New York Times article that, agrees that you said
New York
that.
Times.
Then last summer, when you testified before a Senate committee, you said, and I quote, there is no inflation. Tariffs are not being passed on to consumers. You were quite definitive and even claimed that critics had, quote, tariff derangement syndrome. Well, those comments are at odds with the statement you made to investors that tariffs are inflationary. Again, I want to be clear, so just let me ask you, are tariffs inflationary, yes or no?
According to the San Francisco Federal Reserve, with 150 years of data,
yes or no?
Tariffs do not cause inflation. San Francisco Federal
Well, last November, as the Trump administration finally began to realize that affordability issues in America are not a hoax, you told Fox News.
He answered the question, and she just keeps going. I didn't get the answer I want, so I'm just going to run over that answer. And he's like, the New York Times article? How about this? And she just runs right through it. That's why these hearings are pretty much useless. Yes or no? How about that? Never mind. I won't show you. How about that?
That the government was going to reduce tariffs on goods like coffee and bananas, and that doing so would, quote, bring the prices down very quickly. Mr. Secretary, why was that announcement even necessary? If tariffs aren't inflationary, and as you and the president like to say, are paid for by the foreign country, a tariff on coffee or bananas shouldn't raise the price of either for American consumers. Well, that's the Trump logic, but that isn't reality. It did raise prices across the board, and you know it. I think you knew back in July also.
This is broken. Our government is broken. If you can literally just sit up there, number one, you can have the AI hearings, because answer yes or no. This isn't a hearing. This is a statement. She's just flipping reading what she thinks, and she contradicts herself as she talks. You said that the tariffs wouldn't. Trying
to flip up to 5 seats currently being held by Republicans to Democrats. More on that as we get it.
All right, so the Supreme Court ruled for the Democrats in their redistricting fight, which should tell every red state to do exactly the friggin' same. That, I don't look at that as a loss. I look at that as, go to it, boys. Every single red state right now needs to immediately be redistricting, because they just found out from the Supreme Court that it's okay. It's okay to do whatever you need to do in terms of redistricting. So do it. Be done with it. It's California. Who cares? Be done with it. Do it. Now, going back to this woman in terms of her automatronic way that she's reading here, they always say, you know, we're going to have these hearings, we're going to have 5 minutes. But if you're talking and reading for 4 out of the 5 minutes, you never get to really answer a question. And so he's actually just waiting for her. Are you going to get to a question here? But what I was saying was, when he said that the tariffs don't raise the prices, and she mentioned coffee and bananas coming from other countries, she didn't talk about any coffee or bananas coming from America. So, and a tariff doesn't raise the price, the retailer raises the price. The retailer says, it's costing me more, so I'm going to bump the price up. The consumer, you don't have to buy the more expensive item, but nobody ever talks about that.
Real question is, why would you even impose a tariff on a good that a country doesn't grow or make, as that would only serve to punish the American consumer? Now, as you know, this committee has taken a bipartisan approach to addressing another real affordability crisis. Housing. Rents are too high. There aren't enough houses. However, one clear reason that the housing crisis has grown worse is that you and the rest of the Trump administration levied tariffs on housing production goods like lumber and steel, as well as appliances. These tariffs will result in half.
Lumber is
reclaiming my time. You don't get to talk.
Lumber is at a 5-year low.
Why am I here? Why am I sitting here? You're spewing lies, and I don't get to talk. These things are ridiculous. What they should say is, you get 5 minutes, and then I get 5 minutes to rebut you. It shouldn't be a total of 5 minutes, and then she can talk up to 4 minutes and 45 seconds, and then he doesn't have any time to answer, and then they want you to shut up. Oh, by the way, listen to what she actually says, because this is a congresswoman talking to the Secretary of Treasury.
Reclaiming my time.
Let's just have the facts.
Reclaiming my time. Thank you. However, one clear reason that the housing crisis is going worse.
It's a frickin' joke. The guy in front of her, another Democrat, her page back here, they're all laughing. Mad Max getting you right now. Oh, this is shameful. Absolutely shameful.
Is that you and the rest of the Trump administration levied tariffs on housing production goods like lumber and steel, as I said, as well as appliances. These tariffs will result in 500,000 fewer homes built at a time when we need more homes built, not less. Trump single-handedly made housing more expensive. And once again, you know it, as Axios has reported that you were planning to lift tariffs on housing production goods. In addition, the unlawful campaign the Trump administration has waged with ICE and Border Patrol terrorizing American communities has...
Wait a second. You turn the page. Can we slow down for a second? How did we get from buying houses to buying coffee to buying bananas to ICE? He just turned the page. Just keep going. Please. Please.
Also harmed home construction across America. So I ask you, Secretary Benson, will you be the voice of reason in the administration and urge Trump to stop waging a war on American consumers and on housing or affordability and putting the economy at risk? Yes or no? You don't have to explain.
Representative Waters.
How do you tie somebody's hands there and go yes or no? Now you know why I don't show these hearings for hours, because you're like, this is ridiculous. What are these people getting at? How can you tell this man he's not allowed to answer all the pablum that just spewed out of your mouth? He's not allowed to answer though, huh?
The voice. Will you be the voice? Will you be the voice? Will you be the voice of reason? Will you be the voice of reason?
A study from Wharton University.
Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time.
Was a mass unfettered immigration.
Mr. Chair, will you let him know that when I asked him
time does belong to the housing woman from California.
10 and 20 million immigrants.
Can you shut up?
In case you didn't hear that, she said, can you shut him up? Can you shut him up? A congressman just told a sitting cabinet member, can you shut him up? But most people won't even see this unless they're on X.
Housing stock of working Americans, and can you maintain some level of dignity?
Gentlelady's time has expired.
No, my time has not expired.
Your time has expired. And the gentleman...
The gentleman took up my time. I think you should recognize that, Mr. Chair.
The gentlewoman's time has expired. The gentlewoman's time has expired.
Well, if you want
Chair, parliamentary
The chair recognizes the vice chairman of the committee,
If you want to
parliamentary inquiry.
Go right ahead, but I would not expect you to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I will grant very briefly any time that you feel like you need to address anything.
Again, I think the ranking member does not understand.
Mr. Secretary, I'm sorry. The gentleman will suspend. There's a parliamentary inquiry. Mr. Sherman?
Mr. Chair, will you enforce the rules of this committee so that the time belongs to the questioner and prevent filibusters from taking time away? And if those
He didn't get a chance to speak, and this dude is accusing him of doing a filibuster. He barely got his sentence out, and now they're saying he was filibustering. So in other words, what you're hoping to hear is no answers. You just want to spew the same stuff. It's incredible how these are your employees.
Filibusters by the witness do take time away. Will you allocate additional time?
I will enforce the 5-minute rule.
I want my time back.
The gentleman from Michigan is recognized.
I grant briefly anything that you feel you need to address.
I believe the ranking member does not understand the definition of generalized inflation versus one-time price increases. I would also note that housing, especially for working Americans, a Wharton study has shown that the mass unfettered immigration, adding 10 to 20 million new people demanding housing, Congresswoman, is what caused a great deal of housing inflation for working Americans. So you and the Biden administration should be ashamed.
Which is also why we are seeing rents. There was just a recent media story on this. Rents are going down partially because of that enforcement. So Mr. Secretary.
Yes, supply and demand continues to work.
I've got.
The immutable laws of supply and demand. That is specifically why things happen a certain way. Housing prices aren't too high. The prices are set by the demand that people are willing to pay. I don't understand why Democrats don't get that. If you go to a store, if you go to buy a pair of shoes and you ask how much and they say it's like $100 for this pair of shoes, you at that point can say, nah, not going to pay it, or you can leave. When you go look at a house, the reason why that house is XYZ price is because the other houses in the area have sold in that proximity. And so when you basically compare like amenities, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, pool, waterfront, what kind of, all the different things in a house, if it's called comparable, the comparable determines the price. They're sold for $500, ergo, this one is now a $500,000 house until it doesn't sell, and then somebody lowers the price to $475. Now that's the market for their house because somebody sold it $475. They think people arbitrarily pick prices and just out of the air and say houses are too high. No, you just can't afford the house you want. None of us lived in waterfront mansions on the side of the ocean when we first bought our houses. We all had, maybe a condo, maybe a crappy looking little apartment, maybe a flat, maybe 8 people lived in there with you because you were just getting started. Maybe if your ass wasn't running around in Minneapolis in 5-degree weather, holding a sign and doing something more productive, you could buy a damn house. Worked 2 jobs. When I moved to Florida, Scott's honor, I worked 3 jobs. 3 full-time jobs. Imagine how that worked out. And Robin supported me. She's like, here's dinner, here's breakfast. Wake your ass up, go to your second job. Because we went from, basically when we moved down here, we were living in a hotel. And then we're like, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to get an apartment. Oh, now we're going to get a townhouse. Oh, now we're going to buy a house. And now we're going to buy another house. Then we're going to buy a whole bunch of houses. There's a progression to this. It's just not given. These people make me sick. So if you think that was bad, now you get to listen to Congressman Meeks.
To know whether you will commit today to pause and heighten the scrutiny of any bank charter or licensing application at the OCC connected to the World Liberty Financial until all of these conflicts of interest and foreign influence reviews are completed and shared with the United States Congress. All I need to know is, will you halt it and do a complete investigation and scrutiny of this licensing application? All you have to ask is yes or no.
No, Congressman.
All you have to ask
the
is yes or no.
OCC is an independent entity, and I would know, Congressman,
so I take that as a no.
You traveled to Venezuela to lobby
I take that as a no.
On behalf of your donors, on behalf of your donors.
You do not want to answer that question. I take that as a no.
For a $7 billion.
I'm asking you to do your responsibility as Secretary of the Treasury.
Into a Venezuelan.
You do not.
Mr. Meeks,
time
has expired.
You cannot erase what you did in 2006.
He's the one that went past your time, Mr. Chairman.
No, and
he did not answer my question, and he wouldn't pass the time.
He had 6 seconds left to try to answer your question, and
it was a yes or no. It was a yes or no answer. I asked him, will he? No, was yes or no?
The OCC
the gentleman.
Stop covering for the president. Stop being his flunky.
And
gentlemen,
he's talking to me. I'm responding back to him.
2006 trip to Venezuela.
Stop covering for the president. Don't be a flunky. Work for the American people.
Mr. Meeks,
trip to Venezuela.
Work for the American people. Don't be a cover-up for a mob.
Maybe you're going to see your friend Nicholas Maduro.
Gentleman is not recognized. Mr. Bessent, please. I recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Sessions. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
There's no way I can subject you to watching this for like 3 hours. But I think you just got a little bit of the flavor right now where you're like, man, these people are bat poop crazy. And again, I'll bring it up one more time. Who looks calm and collected like they got their shit together, and who looks like they just don't know what the hell they're going to do? I'm going to talk tonight about the SAVE Act, and I think I figured out why they took it off the table for the appropriations to get the government back open. And it's genius. If what I'm thinking is correct, it's absolutely genius because, man, these people, they got nothing. They got absolutely nothing. All right, so let's get into, finally, some other good stuff. This is Caroline Levitt out at the Sticks yesterday afternoon.
What can you tell us, I'm sorry, about the meeting with President Gustavo Petro? How was it? Was it in a good tone? What are the results?
I wish I had more for you. The meeting was just wrapping up as I was walking out here, so I will go in and get a readout from the president, which I myself, or I'm sure he, will provide to all of you directly on Truth Social. But I spoke with the president before the meeting, and he was in a very positive headspace, and he was looking forward to sitting down with President Petro to have a conversation. So we will all see how that went together.
Thank you so much, Caroline. What does President Trump mean when he says Republicans ought to naturalize voting? What does that look like in practice?
What the president was referring to is the SAVE Act, which is a huge common sense piece of legislation that Republicans have supported, that President Trump is committed to signing into law during his term. And he spoke with the speaker directly about that yesterday, about the need to get that bill on the floor for a vote, because it provides very common sense measures for voting in our country, such as voter ID. I don't think any rational person who's being honest with themselves would disagree with the idea of requiring citizens of this country to present an ID before.
All right, so that's where she's made two mistakes. Two mistakes. One, she said no rational person in this country. Rational. There were videos out there yesterday where I saw some woman said she wanted to kill her kids because ICE might come and she wanted to protect them. Rational. The Democrat Party has a they've cornered the market on irrationality. So that's one problem. Number two, you said American citizens. And that's another problem that they have.
Or casting a ballot in a federal election, or frankly in any election, and that's something the president wants to see happen. So that's what he was referring to.
But to be clear, he does believe the state should oversee elections.
The president believes in the United States Constitution. However, he believes there has obviously been a lot of fraud and irregularities that have taken place in American elections. And again, voter ID is a highly popular and common sense policy that the president wants to pursue, and he wants to pass legislation to make that happen for all states across the country.
And Kelly, just to follow up on that, he said specifically that they should take over elections in 15 states. Can you tell us what he meant by that, what 15 states he's referring to in terms of Republicans taking over elections?
Again, what I was just telling you is that with the passage of the SAVE Act, voter ID will be implemented across all 50 states. The president was referring to specific states in which we have seen a high degree of fraud. If you look at states like California, or if you look at New York City, for example, non-citizens are allowed to vote in elections in places like California and New York City.
All right, so what she's saying there, because they're all worried about this. Wait a minute, what do you mean we're going to federalize the elections? It goes, the states run things. Well, there's certain things the states don't run. And if you read between the lines what she just said, immigration is not run by the states. If you're committing a crime, if you're not supposed to be here, or you shoot somebody, or you do something else, you get to be taken away. Since when are we going to look the other way on people who aren't supposed to be here voting? See, what I think is about to happen, if they can get the SAVE Act done, which they have to, well, I'll tell you about that tonight, they will then be able to enforce things at voting locations because they're doing immigration enforcement. There's nothing in the Constitution that says, hey, you can't do immigration enforcement at the polling booth. Nothing is going to stop them. This is what they're terrified of. You can go look it up. You can actually look at statutes, and you're going to hear from Tom Homan. I don't care where you are. If you're not supposed to be here, we can pluck you. So this is where the Democrats are trying to, dance around it. Now, what do you mean that he's going to federalize elections? Well, read between the lines. Understand, you're not supposed to be here. You shouldn't be. It would be a crime for you to vote in this election. In a newcomer, voting in that election is committing a crime right then and there. And I think there's going to be more to this as to what happens when local and state municipalities are running elections and they're allowing crime to take place at the voting place. This is going to get interesting. And you notice she danced around it. So I want you to just think of that question. If it's a crime to vote when you're not supposed to, if it's a crime to vote in numerous different places, if it's a crime to do this at a voting polling station, then who's enforcing the crime that are taking place? We've already learned that there's no mechanism after the election to change the vote. We're seeing it right now as we speak. No matter what Tulsi Gabbard figures out in Georgia, there's no mechanism to overturn those elections. So you've got to find the fraud, which she just said. You've got to find the crime as it's happening before it gets recorded. You understand that? I just want to make sure everybody got that.
Just creates a system, an electoral system that is absolutely ripe with fraud. And you cannot deny the fact that, unfortunately, there are millions of people who have questions about that, as does the president. He wants to make it right, and the SAVE Act is a solution to doing it. Daniel?
Carolyn,
good to see you.
The January ISM manufacturing PMI hit a a score of north of 52. It's the best score since August of 2022. What should that tell Americans about manufacturing activity possibly surging under the Trump administration?
Well, the president's tariffs are working, and his economic agenda is working. When you combine tariffs and reshoring American manufacturing and investments in this country, which the president has played a huge role in directly recruiting those investments from countries and companies all over the world to the United States, you're creating jobs. We've seen construction jobs have surged in the past few months. That's because those factories are being built right here in the United States, and we're putting Americans to work. So our manufacturing sector is obviously something the president cares a lot about. That's why he's so determined and dedicated to his tariff policy, which, as you all saw yesterday, the president struck another great trade deal with India. He spoke with Prime Minister Modi directly. They share a very good relationship. India committed to not only no longer purchasing Russian oil, but buying oil from the United States, also perhaps from Venezuela too, which we know will now have a direct benefit on the United States and the American people. And in addition to that, Prime Minister Modi committed to $500 billion of investments into the United States, including for transportation, for energy, and for agricultural products as well. So this is another great trade deal thanks to President Trump.
Tulsi Gabbard involved in a domestic law enforcement search in Georgia?
Tulsi Gabbard has been tapped by the President of the United States to oversee the sanctity and the security of our American elections. She's working directly alongside the FBI Director, Kash Patel. This is a coordinated whole-of-government effort to ensure that our elections, again, are fair and transparent moving forward. I don't see anything wrong with the President tasking a cabinet member to pursue an issue that most people want to see solved. Maybe you don't, but I know many Americans do want to make sure our elections are protected, and that's what Tulsi Gabbard is focused on doing.
Is there something specific that the president has concerns about that led him to ask the Director of National Intelligence to go down to Fulton County?
Are there concerns that the president has that he specifically asked Tulsi Gabbard to go in and check out Fulton County? Says nobody who's been alive for the last 5 or 6 years. Yet somehow this guy just unearthed, came up beyond his rock and says, is there something wrong in Fulton County? Is there something we should be worried about? Oh my God, I can't with these people.
Explain the president's concerns with voting in this country, and it's something that he wants to see solved for future elections, and I think that's something all Americans can get behind.
So I had just said to you, I'm going to tell you about the SAVE Act tonight. So now I may need to push some stuff back because SV just sent me some breaking news. All right, so let me tell you about my theory of the SAVE Act. My theory on the SAVE Act is get the government back up open. Don't tie the SAVE Act to all these appropriations. Make it a standalone bill and make every single Democrat stand up and say, no, I don't want IDs in elections. Make every single person in the House, make every single person in the Senate, make the media come out and say, no, we shouldn't have IDs in our elections. By doing it as a standalone, you are forcing that debate. You are forcing them to stand up with a camera and say, no, anybody should be able to vote. If you already know what I showed you yesterday, it's like 80% of the people combined, Republicans, Democrats, black, green, yellow, purple, nose rings, 80% of the people say, yes, we should have voter ID. So the Democrats are going to be forced to stand up and go against 80% of the American people. That is political suicide. And they're going to force them to do just that. SB just sent me this by John Thune.
That is, should non-citizens be voting in American elections? The answer is no. And the Democrats have taken a hard position that it's okay. Now, the law already prevents that, but if that's true, then why wouldn't we want to put into law something that would require when you go to vote that you prove you are a United States citizen? And that's all the SAVE Act does. And so, you know, they can cry and lament this actually being voted on, but I'd be hard-pressed to have to defend a position that doesn't believe that you have to be an American citizen to vote in an American election.
I'll finish off with the words of Speaker.
I just said that. I'd be hard pressed to see somebody stand up at a podium and scream bloody murder, because the only thing you want to do is make sure people have to check ID, and 80% of Americans, we already know, want it. And it may be 90, because that was a CNN poll. Everybody except the nuts running around in Minnesota and the communists, everybody wants voter ID. And now we're going to make you stand up and say, oh, it's voter suppression. I wrote earlier on Twitter, it's not voter suppression. It's suppression. It's cheat suppression. It's commie suppression. It's most assuredly suppression, just not the type that you think. It is going to stop the cheat. It will put the Democrats forever out of office. They cannot win. Nobody wants their crap. Obviously, everybody knows what 80% means in terms of checking voter ID. Everybody knows what's going to happen once you start checking voter ID, which tells you nobody really wants the crap that they're being told. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants higher taxes. Nobody wants transformers. Nobody wants 14 months out of the year, yeah, I said 14, to be some form of LGBTQISSIPPI. Nobody wants that crap. Nobody wants Bad Bunny. Nobody wants to hear the political crap from Billie Eilish. Sing your stupid emo songs. I don't need to know your politics. That's what that is saying, and I just can't wait to see the Democrats have to defend that. Good luck with that.
Mike Johnson defending the SAVE Act. This is from yesterday, Leader Thune. Listen.
The SAVE Act just simply says you have to have verification of citizenship to register to vote. That's about a 90-10 issue on many of the polls in this country. And we're going to enhance it by what the president calls the Save America Act. And so it would be proof of citizenship to register to vote and voter ID, which is also about an 80 or 90% issue on the polling nationwide.
Nothing going on Capitol Hill these days. Leader Thune, I'll give you a final thought on all of it.
Well, I honestly, this right now, their political base is demanding they fight with anything that President Trump wants. It is Trump derangement syndrome. It is on steroids around here these days. And even logical, commonsensical things like ensuring that if you're going to vote in an American election, you ought to be an American citizen, they're going to just instinctively oppose. So that's what we're up against. But we're going to do our best in spite of that to make sure that our government is funded and that we're putting policies in place that keep the American people safer and more prosperous.
To be clear, Leader, it does sound like you're saying that what you're describing as Trump derangement syndrome is at the highest you've seen it. So my last question to you is just, do you truly believe that the party, Democrats, would stand for a complete shutdown of DHS?
I think it's going to be very hard to defend.
Yeah. We are looking at caged, cornered animals at this point. They know everything that they've stood for is about to go away. Their careers, their fraud, the entire grift, everything hinges upon them being able to deal with everything from a perspective, a purview of insanity. The more they can whip people up into piercing noses, changing the color of their hair, doing away with babies, running out in the street in 7 below zero, it's all going to go away. You guys just need to hold the line. I mean, it's like in Braveheart, hold, make sure you guys definitely hold. Hey, let me tell you about one of our other sponsors here. This would be for Rumble. People can cancel your accounts. They can freeze your credit cards and debit cards. They'll decide what you're allowed to buy, say, or support. Big banks and financial institutions have total control, and they use it. That's why financial independence matters more now than ever. Introducing Rumble Wallet. You can go to wallet.rumble.com. It's a non-custodial wallet built for real freedom. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money. Not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. I know that might be surprising to some of you who haven't used non-custodial, meaning it's not being held by somebody else. No permission, no middleman, no cancel button. And when you want to support the creators like me who actually believe in freedom, you can use the Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators fast and without interference. This isn't a line of credit. They can't shut you, they can shut off. It's your wallet permanently. Yours to protect your future. Yours to protect your family. When the system fails, like the Bank of Chicago that failed last weekend, when institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability. Rumble Wallet isn't about politics. It's about freedom. It's about ownership and protecting what's yours. So take control today. Download Rumble Wallet now and step away from the big banks for good. Make true ownership and true protection and true financial freedom a reality by going to wallet.rumble.com. All right, so I'm going to take about a 90-second break, and then we'll go ahead and get the rest of what Caroline Levitt was saying.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
It's simply a step toward totalitarian and authoritarian effort to suppress the vote. And it goes along with his seizing election machines and voting rolls, imposing citizenship tests, a series of actions that are designed to suppress and maybe stop the vote.
Nervous, aren't they? What's the old saying? Nervous like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. That's what they are. Now you're going to see this message continue to turn. It's suppression. It's authoritarian. It's fascism. It's Nazis. They're going to bring all that back out again, but they can't do anything because 90% of the people, 80% of the people say they want voter IDs. And most of us have IDs in our pocket. Let's get back to Caroline.
Has called President Petro drug dealer, thug, lunatic, and President Petro has called the American army to not pay attention to President Trump. Do you think President Trump had a hope that this relationship could be fixed?
I think the president invited President Petro and accepted that offer for him to meet President Petro, and the president spoke a few weeks ago. As you know, President Petro said he'd love to come to Washington. President Trump said, sure, come. So I think that speaks for itself. And again, I'm sure the president will provide a readout of that meeting.
Given the recent news and what just happened, how much does this escalate tensions ahead of these critical talks that are happening with Witkoff?
Well, look, I just spoke with Special Envoy Witkoff, and these talks, as of right now, are still scheduled. President Trump is always wanting to pursue diplomacy first, but obviously it takes two to tango. You need a willing partner to achieve diplomacy, and that's something that Special Envoy Witkoff is intent on exploring and discussing. As always, though, of course, the president has a range of options on the table with respect to Iran as commander-in-chief. I think they learned that quite well last year with the strike in Operation Midnight Hammer, which was wildly successful and obliterated their nuclear capabilities. But those talks will continue later this week as far as we're concerned right now.
President Trump was talking yesterday about how President Putin had agreed to a week-long halt on attacks on Ukraine because of the cold weather. But today we've seen that Russia has launched some of the heaviest attacks this month. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I spoke with the president about it this morning, and his reaction was unfortunately unsurprised. These are two countries who have been engaged in a very brutal war for several years, a war that would have never started if the president were still in office. It started because of the weakness and incompetence of the previous president, Joe Biden, and that's why the president continues so aggressively to pursue diplomacy to end this war. That's why Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be in Abu Dhabi tomorrow for another round of trilateral talks. I would note the trilateral talks that took place last week or the week prior are historic by nature. Never before have all three of our countries really been able to sit down at the negotiating table to move the ball forward towards peace. So Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner and President Trump made the impossible possible with respect to peace in the Middle East, and I know they're looking to do the same with respect to the Russia-Ukraine war as well. Jake.
On Harvard, the president said yesterday he's now seeking $1 billion from Harvard. One, how do you arrive at that number? And two, he said he wants criminal, not just civil, charges against individuals at Harvard. Does he want to see Harvard officials arrested there criminally?
Look, I will let the president and also the Justice Department and those who will be pursuing that against Harvard speak on the specifics of that matter. But I know that the president wants to see a deal struck with Harvard that is appropriate and that ensures they are held responsible for the criminal behavior, the illegal behavior, the harassment and the targeting of Jewish American students on their campus that took place over the course of the last year, several years. This is something the administration has been working on over the course of the last year, and the president himself has been directly involved, as evidenced by that True Social statement as well.
What does President Trump want to see happen during this 2-week negotiation period for DHS funding? Is he confident that a deal will be reached? And what specifically is he willing to accept on some of the ICE and Border Patrol reforms that Democrats are asking for?
Well, look, President Trump will be the ultimate decider of any policy changes on anything, especially with respect to immigration enforcement. What I will tell you is the president is never going to waver in enforcing our nation's immigration laws and protecting the public safety of the American people, in his ardent support of ICE and Customs and Border Patrol, who unfortunately the Democrat Party has made a decision to demonize. I heard Senator Schumer referring to them as Donald Trump's Nazi secret police force, I believe, were his words. I don't recall that same language being used when President Obama was in the White House and was deporting millions of illegal aliens from our country using this very same agency and these very same agents, who, by the way, have jobs because of the laws that were passed by Congress. So as for policy discussions that will take place, Congress will have those. The president will decide on those. You saw yesterday Secretary Noem announced that DHS agents on the ground in Minnesota will begin using and wearing body cams. That's something DHS is looking to roll out nationwide, assuming they have the funding for it.
Now I got to say, that's another backfire on the left. They wanted body cams. They kept saying they wanted body cams on all these ICE officers. Now you're going to get it. You walked into yet another bear trap, because as you see and have seen in Minneapolis, these nuts have been doing everything possible to agitate and get these guys to react. Now you're going to have a body cam that's going to show you spitting at him. It's going to show you putting your hands on him. It's going to show you doing all these things. And now whatever doubt there was about these people being morons, it's going to come clear.
So that could be part of the discussion. I know Tom Homan has been on the ground in Minnesota. He's there again today for direct dialogue with state and local officials to move these conversations forward as well. And I think you'll be hearing more from Mr. Homan tomorrow on some of the progress that has been made. So, look, we're willing, obviously, to have this dialogue and to talk and to listen, but we are not going to concede in enforcing our nation's immigration laws and delivering on the mandate the president was given by nearly 80 million Americans to deport illegal alien criminals from our country.
Venezuela, any preparations for a visit from Delcy Rodriguez from Venezuela, and your statements on the political prisoners situation in Venezuela?
Sure. I don't have a date for a visit at this time. I know it is something that has been discussed, but no firm plans at this point. As for the release of the political prisoners, the president and this entire White House, and I think the whole country, should be very pleased to see that. It's a commitment that Ms. Rodriguez made, and she has kept, and we expect her to continue to keep it.
His administration is still expecting ICE agents during the Super Bowl. And what are the comments from President Donald Trump regarding what Bad Bunny said during the Grammy Awards, ICE out?
I have not spoken with ICE or the Department of Homeland Security or Secretary Noem with respect to enforcement at the Super Bowl, so I don't want to speak on a topic that I don't have knowledge on. I'm sorry, but I would defer you to them.
Bad Bunny?
I'm sorry?
On the statements of Bad Bunny saying ICE out.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's very ironic and frankly sad to see celebrities who live in gated communities with private security, with millions of dollars to spend protecting themselves, trying to just demonize, law enforcement, public servants who work for the United States government to enforce our nation's laws. And you didn't hear this same type of uproar from celebrities in Hollywood when the previous administration allowed an invasion of our nation's borders and allowed innocent women and girls like Jocelyn Nungaray and Laken Riley to be killed and raped and murdered at the hands of people who should have never been in our country in the first place. And now you have law enforcement who are simply trying to do their jobs to remove violent predators like those who took the lives of innocent Americans. There was no uproar from Hollywood and the elitist crowd at the Grammys then, but there is now, and I think that speaks to the unfortunate irony that we're seeing in Hollywood. I'm sorry?
Go on. Sorry. Okay. President Trump approval ratings has went up in the Hispanic community since the Maduro's capture. What do you think about that? Because the legacy media said that the Hispanic community is scared about Trump policies.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. But what the president obviously did with respect to Venezuela was a great thing for all Americans, but especially Venezuelan Americans who fled Maduro's illegitimate regime because of the horrors of communism. And I think it's a good lesson for all Americans to learn. Thank you, guys.
All right, so that was Caroline Levitt at a place they call The Sticks. The Sticks is where they come out, and as you saw, the tents, everything down there, each network has their own area, and it's outside. So, she came outside instead of doing it at Press Row and made them come out there. So, I told you earlier, it seems like the entirety of the Trump administration was out today. You saw Scott Bessent earlier having to deal with the craziness at the hearing. Caroline Levitt, that was yesterday. And then J.D. Vance actually went out today. And I've got a couple of clips I want to show you from his speech.
Let me just say a few things about what we're doing and why this matters. So I remember after our very wildly successful military operation in Venezuela, the President of the United States was talking with me and Marco and some of the other senior members of the cabinet. And he was talking just about how important it was that we ensured that the global economy had access to oil and gas many years in the future. And that, of course, is one of the reasons why we're interested in Venezuela is because it has such a critical importance in this all-important resource called oil. And as much as we talk about the modern economy, the digital economy, the high-tech economy, the president said something that was very, very important and I think should inform a lot of how we think about future growth, which is that as much as data centers and technology and all of these incredible things that we're all working on matter, fundamentally, you still have an economy that runs on real things. And there is no realer thing than oil. And I would add to that, there's no realer thing than critical minerals. And I think a lot of us have learned the hard way, in some ways, over the last year, how much our economies depend on these critical minerals. So every man and woman, I believe, in this room understands what we're confronting together today. And I say together, and that is very much something that is at the heart of Secretary Rubio's initiative, and as he said, at the heart of what we're trying to do all across the administration, is recognize that this is something where our alliances and our friendships can really help one another. We're all on the same team. We're all rowing in the same direction. I believe that in this room, we have close to 2/3 of the world's GDP represented. And so we have the capacity to make ourselves more independent, more self-reliant, and that's what we should be doing. We know that today, the international market for critical minerals is failing. It's failing to create domestic markets or dignified jobs for our labor forces, and it's failing to keep our nation safe. Supply chains remain brittle and exceptionally concentrated. Asset and commodity prices are persistently depressed, driven downward by forces beyond any individual country's control. Now, how many times cumulatively have one of us or many of us in this room heard some variation of the story that I'm about to tell? A lithium mine, a gallium recovery center, you name it, is announced, sometimes with years in planning and financing nearly in place. Then overnight, foreign supply floods the market, the prices collapse, and investors pull out. The project stalls, and eventually the project dies on the vine. We've all seen it firsthand in all of our countries. And the result is a global market where consistent investment is nearly impossible, and it will stay that way so long as prices are erratic and unpredictable. And that's one of the things that we want to work on with this initiative. Let's make the prices more predictable and less erratic so that we can support the domestic supply chains and the investment that makes those supply chains possible.
All right, so before we go on, I want to make sure everybody knows what, quote, a critical mineral actually is. A critical mineral. Let's look at what is a critical mineral. The Energy Act of 2020 defined critical minerals as those that are essential to the economic or national security of the United States, have a supply chain that is vulnerable to disruption, and serve an essential function in the manufacturing of a product, the absence of which would have a significant consequence for the economic or national security of the United States. And here's a list of the critical minerals that have been designated. And you can go through them all. I mean, we can look right here. It's aluminum, cobalt. You can just go all the way through. These are what's considered the the critical minerals. I would really point your attention to a couple of them on here. One being, obviously, let me scroll. Silver. Silver is a critical mineral. That's a hard thing to say. I keep wanting to say criminal. Critical mineral is silver. Nickel, aluminum. Let's see, is there platinum on here? Platinum is here as well. There's platinum. Let's see what else is on here. Gold isn't one of them, huh? Interesting. But platinum, aluminum, silver, nickel, copper, those are all the critical minerals that J.D. Vance is talking about.
I think every single one of us represented in this room has become dependent on arrangements we did not choose, and right now, arrangements that we cannot control. We all face the same vulnerability: access to the things that protect our people and sustain our way of life. Everything from missile defense systems to energy infrastructure to advanced manufacturing to emerging technologies. The fundamental supply chains that support these industries sometimes can vanish in the blink of an eye without any control or influence from many of the countries in this room. And we in the Trump administration believe it is the business of the government, of the people's government elected just over a year ago, to confront such problems, and that we want to confront them together. We want members to form...
All right, and also, what I wanted to tell you is the Energy Act of 2020, you can probably guess who signed that. It was signed on December 27th of 2020 by Donald Trump. It was signed, and in the 4 years of the Biden administration, they didn't do anything with it. In fact, they tried to not only just put it on mothballs, but to stop the exploration and mining and cultivation of these critical minerals. Why? Because it makes America poorer. Everything they did, from not going forward with critical minerals, depleting the national oil reserves, everything they did was obviously everything they could that wasn't Trump, but everything they could do to destroy America. And many of you probably didn't know that President Trump was a person who signed the Energy Act on December 27th of 2020. This has been sitting there for the last 5 years, 4 years. Nobody's done anything about it.
Trading bloc among allies and partners, one that guarantees American access to American industrial might while also expanding production across the entire zone. The benefits will be immediate and durable. Regardless of how much material flows into the global market, prices within the preferential trade zone will remain consistent. Over time, our goal within that zone is to create diverse centers of production, stable investment conditions, and supply chains that are immune to the kind of external disruptions that we've already talked about. For those of you who join, we offer you a necessary foundation for private financing and secure access to the critical mineral supplies your nation would require in an emergency or some other contingency. By regulating imports to preserve free and fair competition within the preferential trading zone, we will elevate our nation's miners and refiners, our investors and our producers alike. We are all on the same team, and we need to create the economic incentives that reward people for investing and building in our countries. Membership will be vital for developing economies seeking to expand mining capacity. And it'll be just as important for the advanced economies that rely on these materials to sustain their advanced industries, to sustain their growth and security.
So what that should tell you in no uncertain terms is that as President Trump and JD have taken office, they've gone back to some of the things he was setting up in his first term before abruptly having to leave. And one of those things was the Energy Act and how we can actually begin using our strength as a mineral provider and working with other countries so that they could become, more prosperous. If America gets more prosperous, you guys can get more prosperous. Let's have a partnership with all these minerals. One of the things that makes this stuff so weird is that too many Americans haven't heard this stuff before. It's been buried. Critical minerals, what the hell is a critical mineral? I don't know anything about that. And so we're on a daily basis, he's putting these people out there and they're having conversation with world leaders. And Marco Rubio, he talked to them as well. And it's out there. It's like, we're open for business. The business that America can conduct will help everybody, whether it's your country or our country. But first, America first, obviously, but you can actually do better as well. It's amazing. And we're only touching the surface in terms of what's going on. So, long guys here. Let me go to this. No, what am I going to do? Let me take a break while the long guy's doing something right here.
Back to Fanfare with Barry.
All right, so he took his blower clanger thingy and just went out to the front. So I won't be interfered with. And also, just guys, let you know, so I don't look so much like a ghost anymore, we're gonna hang some blackout drapes here. So you guys don't know what this looks like, but it's one giant glass window here. It's sliding glass doors and more sliding glass doors. There's so much light in here that one of the things we're going to change is we're going to put some blackout curtains on the window here so it makes more, the color is more true and doesn't look like I'm blown out all the time. But we'll have that done probably this weekend. It's continuing to tweak. I would have had it done this week, but, I had to get this stuff done because, the technology comes first. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a show. Hey, let me tell you guys about another one of our sponsors who you guys probably know. Medicare is confusing. As someone who recently turned 65, I can most assuredly confirm this. Keeping track of enrollment periods, understanding all your options, and making sure you're on the right plan takes too much time and energy, and it's difficult. And between Medicare scams, corrupt agents, and bloated insurance companies, it's easy to make mistakes that can cost you thousands. That's why I am very happy that I worked with and have done my own Medicare insurance with Chapter. They're actually honest and the only Medicare advisor that looks at every single plan nationwide, helping people save an average of $1,100 a year. People are often relieved when they actually talk to Chapter. It is a 20-minute phone call, and they'll go through everything. They won't push you into a plan you don't want, and their support is completely free. Did I say it's free? It's free. So if you're turning 65 soon or have questions about your Medicare coverage, call them at 475-328-3545 to get the most out of Medicare. Most people wish they just called sooner, and you will wish it. I mean, they're very good at what they do. So little programming note tonight, because I have everything here, 7 o'clock, I'm going to try and do a show from home. And tonight you're going to have a special. President Trump was interviewed by NBC News. I will have that interview in its entirety for you tonight, and we'll play that at 7 o'clock, and then I'll continue with some other news. Here's a preview as they've just released it.
That big change on immigration, 700 officers leaving Minneapolis. Did that come from you?
Yes, it did. But it didn't come from me because I just wanted to do it. We are waiting for them to release prisoners, give us the murderers that they're holding, and all of the bad people, drug dealers, all of the bad people. We allowed in our country, I say 25 million people with an open border policy for 4 years under Biden and that group, the Autopen group, I call them. We allowed to come into our country people the likes of which no country would accept, and we're getting them out. Yeah. But we've gotten a lot of them out. So crime now in Minnesota, crime now in Minneapolis is down. Crime in all cities is down. And you know why it's down? It's down because of us. It's down in Chicago by 25%, despite the fact that we are always dealing with these people, and they happen to be Democrats, that don't know anything about crime prevention.
All right, so I'll have that interview in its entirety tonight, so don't forget to join us at 7 p.m. So as President Trump was talking there, that one segment was talking about the 700 agent drawdown. And what's going on in Minneapolis right now has these people completely going through conniptions. You got the governor and Jacob Frey, the mayor, who are saying one thing, but agreeing to something else in private. And so Tom Homan did a press conference today, and I've got like a bunch of segments for you. So you guys, we consolidated it into a much smaller bite-sized nugget. But he lays down some serious information here. As President Trump just said, he talks about a 700-agent drawdown, which some people, again, the panicans and the black pillars are out there saying Trump acquiesced, when that's not it at all. They've always said, if you give us the bad guys, then we don't have to send 5 times the amount of people. Remember, Tom Homan explained it. If I'm going to go pick up a bad guy, normally I'd send 2 guys, maybe 3. Nowadays, because what you guys are doing in Minneapolis, I got to send 15. I got to send 3 guys to pick him up, and then I got to have 8 guys, 9 guys in a crew to make sure that the people are protected. If we can just pick them up at the courthouse, then we don't need all these extra guys. So if you're hearing people on X or on Facebook saying Trump caved, once again, they're full of crap. They don't know anything. But I want to show you what Tim Waltz and Jacob Frey are crying about.
In a week since I met with Tom Homan, expectations have not changed. This force must leave Minnesota. The state of Minnesota and the professionals, nonpartisan judiciary must do the investigations into the shootings and other abuses of Minnesota's human rights. And this all-out assault on Minnesota across all of state government and all across life must stop. None of this is normal. None of this is okay. None of this makes Minnesota any safer. None of this adheres to the values of this country. All it does is cause terror.
None of it? How about none of this about the Somalis stealing $19 billion? None of this about having all these fake autism and health centers. None of this about having all these fake daycare centers. None of this makes any sense. You're absolutely right. You did this. Now the enforcement is what you're having a problem with.
And trauma.
So I'm sitting at my desk here and just got some really sobering figures about the impact that this Operation Metro Surge by ICE is having on our communities. And we've all heard about the families getting torn apart. We've all heard about the constitutional violations. We've heard about people going hungry. And in addition to that, there's a massive impact on our small and local businesses. Small local businesses collectively are losing between $10 and $20 million every single week.
He actually said that. He actually just said that Somali businesses are losing $10 million plus every single week that ICE is there. One, why are they losing business? Because there's law enforcement on the street. Two, why the hell should I care? Three, maybe that's them giving back from the $19 billion that they've already stolen. He actually just said you should feel bad because the money they've been stealing, they can't keep stealing anymore.
Businesses along cultural corridors are down at least 50%, and the Latino-owned businesses and Somali-owned businesses are drastically below that. Hotels have lost about $4.4 million because of cancellations. And so for those that claim that they care about our economy and care about businesses, there is a very quick and straightforward antidote to bring these businesses back. Which is to have Operation Metro Surge end and to have ICE leave our city. Let's bring the economy back. Let's help these businesses out. Let's make sure that our city can return to this great comeback that we were seeing, and let's get ICE to leave.
I would venture to say he was standing, because there's no way he could sit on the size cojones he must have to say this crap. Oh, here, let me
fraud with both the Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison that's scheduled for March 4th before a House Oversight panel. Trace?
David Sputton live for us in D.C. David, thank you. As Byron York put it,
billions, and this guy's complaining. This guy is making little bitty videos saying we should care that the Somali businesses just aren't going to make it. I don't give a F. How about you pay back $9 billion? How about you do that first? You know, the businesses who got caught up in this, maybe you should speak out. Maybe you're legitimate businesses who opened up in Minneapolis. Maybe you got fat and happy because you were serving and catering to and enabling all these Somalis, all these criminals, all these newcomers who aren't supposed to be there. You built your business on crime. You're complicit. Now, do what you got to do. Maybe you should recruit some people to come back in. The hotels, I wouldn't want to go stay in a hotel in Minneapolis. It's not ICE's fault. It's the idiot's fault. They're checking IDs, not letting people go through, putting up stops, which Tom Homan is going to talk about. I guess you'll say one thing on your camera, but behind doors, you are obviously cooperating with Tom Homan. All right, let's get to Tom before we keep you guys here too long.
currently have an unprecedented number of counties communicating with us now and allowing ICE to take custody of illegal aliens before they hit the streets. Unprecedented cooperation. And I'll say it again. This is efficient, requires only 1 or 2 officers to assume custody of a criminal alien target rather than 8 or 10 officers going into the community and arresting that public safety threat. This frees up more officers to arrest or remove criminal aliens. More officers taking custody of criminal aliens directly from the jails means less officers on the street doing criminal operations. This is smart law enforcement, not less law enforcement. It's safer for the community, safer for the officers, and safer for the alien. This coordination also makes it far more safe for the Twin Cities. Arresting a public safety threat in the safety and security of a jail is the safest thing we could do. Further, less public safety risks are being released back into the communities, reduces recidivism, so local law enforcement can direct their limited resources to other public safety matters in their community. This is another priority of President Trump. We currently...
See, I have a question. I wish I was sitting there at that press conference. I would, Mr. Homan, yeah. I understand you guys are going to pick up these guys in jail. Yeah. Why are they still committing crimes? And now to combat what you're doing is Minneapolis not even going to arrest them for the crime that they catch them on. See, this is something I foresee. I foresee them needing these newcomers so badly that, hey, listen, he robbed a bank. Well, if at least we can let him go. He smacked this woman around. He did this. He did that. He drove drunk. We got to let him out, because if we don't let them out, they're going to take him. So my question goes back to the police and even to the media. Why are all these people in jail? They weren't picked up because of anything to do with their immigration status. They were picked up because they did something else on the street. That's something I don't think gets publicized enough. When Tom Homan says we need to be able to get into the jails, that means those people have already been arrested on something else. They're back in jail. What the hell? What did you do? How many times you been in jail in your life? These people just keep going to jail. Of course they need to go away. But the problem is, why doesn't anybody talk about that? Why don't they talk about the mere fact that these people keep going to jail?
We have an unprecedented number of counties communicating with us now and allowing ICE to take custody of illegal aliens before they hit the streets. Unprecedented cooperation. And I'll say it again. This is efficient, requires only 1.
Oops, sorry, that was a repeat cut. But in any event, the thing with what he said in terms of being more efficient, we've all heard the thing, work harder, not smarter. And I think what this is all about.
In their community. This is another...
I said that backwards. Work smarter, not harder.
...priority of President Trump. Given this increase in unprecedented collaboration, and as a result of the need for less law enforcement officers to do this work in a safer environment, I have announced effective immediately we will draw down 700 people effective today. 700 law enforcement personnel. We have also fully integrated CBP personnel into the ICRO team structure under one unified chain of command. Not 2 chains of command, there'd be 1 chain of command here. Any large enforcement operation I've ever been involved with, there's 1 chain of command, and that's where we're moving forward.
There's a question here somebody asked that says, how long will it take then to remove over 20 million newcomers? This would take forever, but there's a cascade. He's talking about 1 city. And I think everybody lose sight of that. This is 1 city he's talking about. There's not 20 million in Minneapolis. They probably already know how many there are just in Minneapolis. This isn't talking about the other parts of the Twin Cities, not the, he said unprecedented cooperation with people throughout the state. This is, the ones he's talking about is just Minneapolis. So I think I wanted to put your comment up because your question was completely dead on, but you're not looking at it from the perspective of this is just this hellhole called Minneapolis. They're already doing it all over the place. They're doing it down here in Florida. They're still, do you know Alligator Alley still flying people out? Nobody talks about that. Same thing in Louisiana. They're still, it's all happening, but the entirety of the media is looking at Minneapolis. And the reason it happened in Minneapolis, because there's no riots down here. Nobody's, carrying signs. They may be out there in the Everglades. I don't know. Nobody's complaining. They're not burning stuff, not building, checkpoints. It's only in these certain enclaves, Portland, Seattle, Minneapolis, New York. Everybody else it's get them out. Get them out. That's the thing you need to understand. No one has slowed down deportation. Another thing I'm going to show you tonight is Kristi Holmes did a press conference as well. I'm like, there's too much. I'll be here for 8 hours. There's so much going on. And for some reason, everybody just focuses on Minneapolis. When I think the real reason why it blew up is they're trying to hide the grift, the fraud that's going on. So don't put your focus just on Minneapolis, because they're just, you should see what they're doing down here, what Ron DeSantis is doing. Just get them out. Get them out. There's nobody even stopping them.
Congress last week, I announced that moving forward, ICE will be conducting targeted immigration enforcement operations, like ICE has traditionally done for decades.
Oh, like somebody else said. Plus, they are self-deporting. They're like, I can't deal with this. I do not want to get roused out of my bed while, I'm here with my wife and kids. I'll just take the 3,000 and be gone. It's almost like they're taking like airport tickets, like, hey, first flight to, wherever, where you going? Just get the hell out of here. So they're still doing that too, the self-deportations.
Based on reasonable suspicion to question and detain. ICE will conduct these operations and transnational criminal organization investigations with a focus on national security and public safety. I want to be clear. Just because you prioritize public safety threats don't mean we forget about everybody else. We will continue to enforce the immigration laws in this country.
I love that one. I love that one. He emphatically, let me just tell you, just because we're looking at these bad guys in the jail doesn't mean you might not get scooped up. Bottom line, if you're here illegally, unlike Billie Eilish, you got to go.
To help execute this, we have developed and implemented a multi-agency surge task force with an operational framework that clarifies lines of effort, integrated enforcement, investigative and special response efforts. A unified joint operations center has been established to manage all operations and ensure efforts align with priorities of the mission. This reorganization also enables ICE to leverage joint intelligence capabilities to effectively target threats, as well as to reduce the overall personnel footprint and enhance public safety and confidence in the agency's capabilities and presence here. I have also ensured that officials from legal internal affairs offices remain on the ground as long as this operation continues. During our efforts...
See, I saw somebody asked about Alligator Alley. I'm like, Barry, are you sure? Oh, I'm sure. I live here, number one. Number two, it says, as of January 2026, the controversial immigrant detention center in the Everglades, known as Alligator Alcatraz, is still operating in bold, despite ongoing legal battles. While a federal judge initially ordered its closure in August due to environmental concerns, a court of appeals stayed that order, allowing the facility to remain open while the case progresses. So yeah, I just wanted you to know everything's a green light down here in Florida, and they're still flying people out of here in the plane loads. I had someone who went there. I'm like, how often? 3 times a day? Sometimes twice a day, just getting them out. And Ron DeSantis is working hand in hand with the Tom Homans of the world and Kristi Noem. So all this crap you're seeing on TV, it's just this one city. So understand it's still happening.
To identify and implement improvements of how operations are planned, conducted, and managed, we identified a gap in regard to the use of body-worn cameras. And this was actually raised by the workforce when I started walking around talking to people here. Some officers and agents had them, some didn't. That inconsistency was unacceptable, so we moved immediately to prioritize full body cam deployment in the city. I discussed this with Secretary Noem a couple of days ago, and she made the decision to deploy them. The plan is to deploy them nationwide, but it's a priority for the city right now. There's actually $20 million in the spending bill to further fund the deployment of body cameras.
All right, so that was important too, because the Democrats have been screaming about body cams. And like he said, well, it's in the bill, $20 million. Got to pass it. You want the body cams? Pass it. David here put up a question, said, exactly, Barry. I've noticed bigly that the media and politicians suddenly went crickets on alligator Alcatraz. Nothing to talk about. They couldn't stop it. The lawsuit's been stayed for some environmental reason, and it just keeps going. And so one of the things I just wanted to ask Tom Homan is talking is just to get you guys to understand, well, maybe we should just listen to Trump say it.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
I don't play that one enough. I need to play that more. I need to play it more because when you turn on the television or you hear people talk, a lot of people have just such doom and gloom. And I want to be your friend for 3 hours just to let you know shit's going well. I'm going to show you something tonight that you can actually share with some people. So I found a post. Actually, a buddy of mine who's a sheriff sent me this post. It's amazing. We're winning. Just look at the contrast in the face. See what people are saying, how they're acting. We're winning. And I don't understand why people are all doom and gloom. Maybe because it sells clicks. Maybe that's why some of them don't like me. I'm too much of an optimist. I know there's been problems. I understand people weren't happy with Cash and they weren't happy with Pam Bondi, but she's working her ass off. And then the BS about Todd Blanche and Ed Martin. I'm like, oh my gosh, can you guys not just focus on what's happening? Man.
The president is supportive of this decision because we have nothing to hide. We want to be fully transparent in what we do. For those who are not a national security threat or public safety risk, you are not exempt from immigration enforcement actions.
Bingo. He just said it. Just want to let you guys know, just because, we're not yanking somebody out of a jail, just because you're not the one behind bars, if we find you, you're going. Letting them know straight up front, you are still going. Make sure you're not in Florida. Make sure you're not in Louisiana. Make sure you're not someplace where you're going to make it easy. We don't have to deal with all this crap. You're going to have to go.
If you're in the country illegally, you are not off the table. And let me be clear, President Trump fully intends to achieve mass deportations during this administration, and immigration enforcement actions will continue every day throughout this country. President Trump made a promise, and we have not directed otherwise. I heard rumors we have. Untrue.
This guy, I've heard rumors. I know where you hear the rumors. You even hear the rumors on people on our side. Oh, it's not happening. They're not doing it. I'm like, dude, come on, get together here.
Given that many public safety threats on our communities, many of which poured across the border during the Biden administration, it makes sense to prioritize public safety risk right now. Again, prioritization doesn't mean you forget about everybody else. My goal with the support of President Trump is...
He has said that now 3 or 4 times. Just because we're doing this doesn't mean you're off the hook. Don't let your guard down, because we're coming for you.
To achieve a complete drawdown and end this surge as soon as we can. But that is largely contingent upon the end of the illegal and threatening activities against ICE and its federal partners.
All right, so I wanted to stop there because that's really important. Okay, my camera went Kaputski again. Don't know what happened to my camera. I will be back. Let him play for a while.
We're seeing in the community. We will not draw down on personnel providing security for our officers. I will not let our officers be put at risk. So we will not draw down on personnel providing security and responding to hostile incidents until we see a change in what's happening with the lawlessness of the impeding and interfering and assaulting of ICE and Border Patrol officers. It is against the law to forcibly assault, resist, oppose, impede, intimidate, and interfere with federal law enforcement, including ICE officers and Border Patrol agents. Doxing law enforcement to threaten them and their families because they're executing their sworn duties to enforce immigration law that Congress passed is unacceptable. And it's shameful and incomprehensible to me that this unlawful and threatening behavior is being tolerated by anyone. As far as what I saw yesterday, the roadblocks being set up, you're not going to stop ICE.
So he's talking about those roadblocks. You saw when they had those checkpoints, not going to stop us. You might stop some idiot neighbors who feel like they're supporting you by showing you their ID. But see, that gets put on the local police. The local police have got to do something about that.
You're not going to stop Border Patrol. The only thing you're doing is irritating your community and want to go get groceries or pick their children up or whatever. I talked to the chief of police, and he committed to taking swift action on those illegal roadblocks. They're illegal, and we shouldn't tolerate them.
Have you heard that in the news? We just saw a video of Tim Walz. You just saw a video of Jacob Fry. I haven't seen a video from the chief of police where he says, yeah, we're cooperating and we're going to take down the roadblocks. I did see a video where the police were out there actually doing it. They were taking the roadblocks down. They were dismantling them. They had the garbage truck out there tossing stuff away. But for the public, there was no pronunciation that, yeah, we tore it down. We're not going to allow that. Tom Homan obviously made that happen.
Again, a complete drawdown is going to depend on the cooperation, continued cooperation of local and state law enforcement, and the decrease of the violence, the rhetoric, and the attacks against ICE and Border Patrol.
So they have the keys to the proverbial kingdom. You guys want us to go away? Then you're going to have to do like Chicago and Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. did. You're going to have to work with us. Whether you like it or not, that's what you're going to have to do. And then we can just keep just do the same thing that we're doing in these other cities.
Implore the governor and the AG and the mayor and other political officials to urge in the most strong and urgent way to ask for calm in the community and to end the resistance, the impediment, the interference, again, protest. But stop impeding, stop interfering, stop violating the law, because we will arrest you. President Trump and I would like to thank the men and women of ICE, Border Patrol, and other federal agencies on the ground here for your dedication to the oath you swore to enforce the federal laws and promote public safety through the work you do. That hasn't been easy. I know the sacrifices you made. I know the sacrifices your families make. I know your families worry about you every day. I know you've been away from birthdays and anniversaries and holidays. I appreciate every one of you. I wore that green uniform. I love the United States Border Patrol. I was an ICE agent. I know the job you have. I know the tragedies you've seen. The President is with you. The federal law enforcement personnel, ICE and CBP and other partner agencies are patriots. And they've carried out their duties patriotically, with integrity, with professionalism and compassion. I've said this many times, these men and women don't hang their heart on the hook when they come to work. President Trump and I strongly stand with them in the critical work they do to prevent harmful or otherwise dangerous people from entering or remaining in this country. As part of the surge operation here, numerous criminal aliens have already been arrested. We've arrested 14 people who had homicide convictions, 139 people with sex-related offenses.
And these were people that Jacob Fry and Tim Walz want on the streets of Minnesota. 14 murderers, 139 SAs, sexual assaults. They want these people out in the community. They wouldn't want them if they were, white. They wouldn't want them out there if they're probably most black people. But you somehow want these newcomers, despite what their history says, to be roaming the streets, and that's why they keep getting arrested. The leopard doesn't change its stripes. They keep doing what they like to do. It's natural for them, from wherever they came from, especially if they're from Somalia. They grew up that way. Not all of them, but the ones that need to go and the ones who know that they need to go. What I mean is, if you're enabling them, you need to go as well. If you're not supposed to be here, you're under temporary protective status. The T part is over. No more temporary. Go home.
28 gang members. Correct me. 139 assault convictions, 87 sex offenses, 28 gang members have been arrested, just to name a few. We're taking a lot of bad people off the street. Everybody should be grateful to that. Who in their right mind would want these dangerous criminals walking around their communities? Everyone has a constitutional right to peacefully protest. President Trump and I, we completely support that. At the same time, professional law enforcement officers should and need to be able to perform their sworn duties without being harassed, impeded, or assaulted. I want anyone to report instances of alleged misconduct or wrongdoing. There's a way to report that. The Trump administration is taking violations of 18 U.S.C. 111, which is assaulting, impeding, interfering. We're taking that seriously. If you violate the law, you will be federally prosecuted. In the past month, 158 people have been arrested for violation of 111. 85 cases have been already accepted for prosecutions. The rest remain pending. We've had 9 indictments of those who raided the church, and additional cases are being worked. Additionally, I've been saying this for almost a year now. Hateful, extreme rhetoric against ICE personnel is completely unacceptable. Please stop. I said back in March of this year, if the hateful rhetoric didn't stop, I was afraid there would be bloodshed. And there has been. President Trump and I, Secretary Noem, none of us want to see any bloodshed. It is no doubt encouraging and inciting certain people to violate the law, wanting to harm and actually harm law enforcement, their families, is unacceptable. Lastly, I'd like to thank President Trump for his steadfast leadership and commitment to law enforcement, public safety, and prosperity. I've said this many times. I've worked for 6 presidents and 10 administrations. When it comes to public safety, border security, immigration enforcement, no one's done it better than President Trump. His success is unprecedented. Later on today, Secretary Noem is having a press conference on our southern border, the most secure border in the history of this nation, because of the leadership of President Trump and the men and women over there wearing a green uniform. Most secure border in the history of this country, which means less children are dying making that journey, less women and children being sex trafficked, less fentanyl getting this country to kill our young people, less known suspected terrorists being released in this country. The most secure border in a lifetime gives us the strongest national security we've seen. You can't have strong national security without strong border security. I wish I could be at that press conference, but the president has called me here. I just had a small part in it. The reason we have the most secure border is because of President Trump's leadership and the men and women wearing the green uniform, which I once wore. Look, we want to get back to the original footprint, the Minnesota footprint of what ICE officers looked like before this operation, plus the additional hires through the big, beautiful bill.
Right now, he's gone from his speech. He's answering questions from the press, and some of them are the usual craziness that they're talking about. But there are some good questions here.
These people, we got agents here from LA, New York, and Portland. There's problems there too. So we want to get people back to their home stations and enforce immigration laws in those areas. But the vast majority of sheriffs, there's only a few that we're still in consultation with, but this is unprecedented cooperation. So again, I want to thank the sheriffs, the governor, and the AG. I think we're in a lot better place than we've ever been in. We never had this kind of cooperation at this level, and
So tell me why Tim Walz and Jacob Fry are saying a different story in public. Obviously, none of this could be happening without them cooperating. So people who are saying that Trump caved or that Homan caved, none of this could be happening unless it's just the opposite. But they'll still get out there and say crap to make it seem like they're doing some sort of fight when they're the ones who are waving the white flag. He could not be going into the jails without Keith Ellison and others saying it's okay. And so again, the Democrats are liars.
Not leaving until we get all done. But I'm happy to say I'm extremely pleased with the leadership team and their outreach to the sheriffs, to the state, to the chiefs. I've talked to many of them. I didn't talk to all of them, but I plan on talking to every one of them before I leave and thanking them for their cooperation. But we got to remember now we got special agents on detail here doing the fraud investigation. They're not going anywhere.
Oh, that's a goodie. Oh, in case you didn't. So what you just heard there, in case it went by fast, somebody asked him a question. He goes, no, we got special agents here working on the fraud investigation, completely separate from all the newcomers. They ain't going anywhere. They've dug in their heels. They are doing all kinds of investigation on where this money went. Oh, I love that.
Finish their job.
With everything that you've mentioned here right now, do you think this operation was a success here in Minnesota?
Yeah, I think I just listed a bunch of people we took off the streets of the Twin Cities. So I think it was very effective as far as public safety goes. Was it a perfect operation? No. No. And I just told you, we created one unified chain of command, make sure everybody's on the same page, make sure we're deconflicting targets, and making sure we follow the rules. Now, I'm not saying anybody, I don't think anybody purposely didn't do something they should have done. I'm saying that I brought a different set of eyes on this. I've done this for a long time. We made this operation more streamlined. And we established a unified chain of command, so everybody knows what everybody's doing. And not that it wasn't current before, but we approved upon that. So in target enforcement operations, we go out there. There needs to be a plan, and I want to make sure everybody has a plan. But I'm not going to sit here and point a finger at anybody that they failed. It was a great operation. We took a lot of public safety threats off the street. I have directed target enforcement operations, and we'll hold our officers to the highest standards. These are professionals. Again, I wish every one of you could put that gun on your hip, put that Kevlar vest on, and go out there and put up what they put up with. Considering the hate, the rhetoric, the attacks, I think they performed remarkably, and I'm proud of them. We came here, President Trump sent me here. I didn't ask to come here. President Trump sent me here to help de-escalate what was going on. We're not surrendering our mission. We're not walking away from our mission. We're just making this more effective and more smart. This is smart law enforcement. Smart law enforcement makes it safer.
I love that part of the video or the press conference because you could see he really feels what he's saying. And he paused and he's like, you chicken shits out here who just talk and ask stupid questions, just wish just one day you put that gun on your hip, put on the Kevlar vest and a green uniform, and you go out there and do what they're doing. Just one day. And he paused, man, because he knows what they're going through. He knows these people are constantly under fire. They're constantly being doxxed and everything else. And you can see he actually feels for them, almost like a familial type feeling for them. And he doesn't want to see them hurt mentally or physically. He doesn't want to see the perps get hurt. Just wants it to stop. And so when he was talking about, yeah, I'm here now, and I'm not saying it, he didn't say the names, but he didn't say Greg Bavino messed up, or he didn't say Christy No messed up. He's like, I just improved on what they were doing based upon a new set of eyes. And anybody who's been involved in business, anybody who's run a business knows there will be some times when certain people have hiccups. Doesn't mean they're bad at their job. We're just going to bring in somebody who might be a little bit better, a little bit more experienced, and get this thing put back in place. It didn't stop. It's not like he got in there and they said, okay, we're done. This is fruit. No, we're still doing it. We're just going to do it a different way. And I would love to have been a fly on the wall when he met with Keith Ellison and the mayor and the governor and said, this is how it's going to be. You guys go out there and make your little speeches all you want. But I would almost say we're getting to the end of these protests because it's futile. There's nothing they can do. They've done everything they possibly can. ICE isn't leaving. There's nothing you can do to make Tom Homan stop. It's not going to happen. And if you do want ICE to leave, if that really is the objective, and this is what Tim Walz and Jacob Fry should be saying, is let them do their jobs. He said it probably 3 or 4 times. We're done. We're gonna eventually be out of here if you just let us do our jobs. Then there won't be any problems. See, I don't know how they put that genie back in the bottle at this point. These communists probably aren't going to stop unless the money gets turned off, which might be something else they're working on. All right, so let me take a few comments here. Exactly. I'm not going to lie. I'm beyond sick of hearing about Minneapolis. There's so many other great things going on in the world. Absolutely. Absolutely. First lady is such a lady. Yes, she's got such class. Absolutely. They're going to move to another city, hopefully not Springfield, Ohio. They'll have another thing coming. I mean, California, I think they're already on the ground there. Haven't seen, yeah, because they're having all kinds of protests out there. Same thing, throwing bricks, slamming doors on, I mean, just craziness. And then New York is going to be a problem. New York is definitely coming. I don't know if you guys saw today, a cop answered a domestic call. And as he's at the domestic call, the husband or boyfriend comes at the police officer with a knife. Cop's like, put the knife down, put the knife down, put the knife down, pop, 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 pop. Mom Dami calls the family and says, nobody should have to go through this. He keeps doing that. He's going to lose the support of the police. He may have already lost it just by doing that. And then lose the support of police. They're in big trouble there. Big, big trouble. All right, let me just see if President Trump posted anything before I go and do super chats. 1 second. He posted something earlier about a call with Xi Jinping. Let me show you this here. Where did it go? I don't know where it went. Anyway, a call with Xi Jinping said, I've just completed an excellent telephone. Is it here? Nope, not either one of them. I don't know. It's not there. I just completed an excellent telephone conversation with President Xi of China. It was a long and thorough call where many subjects were discussed, including trade, military, the April trip that I will be making to China, which I very much look forward to. Basically said it's going well. And he's talking about tariffs and the soybean count being lowered to 20 million tons. All right, so let me do super chats. Hopefully I can bring them up. But if I can't, let's see what I can do here. I might have a window issue again. 1 second. Still working on getting all this technology put together correctly. Let me see. Did it cause a problem again? Yeah, it did. Hold on a second while I get this fixed. Be right back.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so I'm finding more gremlins in my machine here that won't allow me to show things the way I like to show them. Trying to work around it here and see if it lets me, because I always like to talk to people who, oh, yeah, here I can do it this way. All right, here, 1 second. Let me just try it. I'm doing this on the fly, so if it seems like kind of crazy or it looks like it's Martian-like or something, that's just because I'm having to do it on the fly, and it's not letting me do that either. Let me try this real quick. Maybe if I move over this way. No, hold on. And yeah, I guess that's the best I'm going to be able to do it right now. So you guys can actually see the super chats. Because the window is really messed up. Don't know why the window's really messed up, but I'm trying to fix it and get it zoomed in here. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I'm going to be able to do it like this. All right. So let's do this the best I can. 1 second here. Hope you guys are doing well. Better than me having to deal with constant issues here with this computer. All right, so let's just do this. And 1 second. Here we go. All right, so I did it half-assed, but you can actually see it. Let's go. All right. Will it move for me if I go up top? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Potofsky. Brad Crane, Thune needs to grow a pair or resign. Bukowski, again, thank you. Canine Capone, Barry, you can dive even deeper. The U.S. is the teat to the world. Mm-hmm. Bukowski, you're punishing me with her. He's got to be talking about Maxine. Making Blankenship, my freaking head is about to explode. This had to be when Maxine was on. My mom, Fazul says, my mom, Rosemary, went to heaven Monday. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, my heart, my brain mush, but joyful she's out of pain. and with her mom and our Lord, surrounded by love. So sorry to hear that, Fazul. So sorry. God bless. Oh, God bless. You guys send some blessings to Fazul. Wow. Jose, these hearings are useless. I would just get up and leave. Just tell them to F off. What's the worst that can happen? Exactly. Exactly. Deidre, Barry, even here in South Africa, we have voter ID. Makes no sense. Redeem Patriot, void all voter registration, make everyone re-register starting at 0, proof of citizenship, age, and all requirements. That's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. Cutting edge. When JD says it's only for our area, our hemisphere, great. The Monroe Doctrine in action once again. Absolutely. Penny's optimism is why I watch Barry and Fanfare. Thank you very much for tuning in. Misfit, thank you, Barry and Mods, for a great show every time, especially your rant. I didn't mean to rant. I'm sorry. And Juan, thank you very much as well. I didn't mean to rant. I'm just tired of the hypocrisy, the BS, the constant lying that they do over and over and over. All right, so it's 4:00 now. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna run home and hopefully don't have any computer issues tonight there. We got through the show. That's the best thing. I can deal with the other things happening. It's the show I hate going down. So I will see you guys tonight at 7 p.m. Look forward to seeing you then. Like I said, President Trump has an interview with NBC. I should have that. I'll have a press conference with Kristi Noem and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. All right, see you guys tonight.